Continuing on from the previous video on Ron O'Neal I did about a couple days ago regarding how his career died in its infancy and was helped by the NAACP. Well, for some 3 decades before his death from cancer in 2004, Ron O'Neal struggled to distance himself from his 1972 role as Youngblood Priest in the movie Superfly. O'Neal was born on September 1st, 1937 in Utica, New York, but he grew up in a black working-class neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio. He also believes his father worked himself to death as a factory worker who had also been a jazz musician in the 1920s. That's what he told the New York Times in a lengthy 1972 interview in which he believes the hard labor was the cause of death. He said, "I swore right then and there that they never worked me like that in those factories." He said he told his mother, he told everybody. Now, 6 months after his father's death, his brother, who was a truck driver at the time, died in an automobile accident, which caused him to be depressed. He said he got into acting by a friend who took him to see a play, and then after that, Ron was turned out. He caught the acting bug. Now, fast forward to 1971, the movie Superfly come out. O'Neal played a Harlem cocaine dealer named Youngblood Priest, who grew tired of his lifestyle and engineered a deal that would net him a small fortune and enable him to get out of the business forever. Corrupt cops and vicious mobsters, they proved more of a danger than the threat of potential jail time. So he was more worried about the mobsters than he was worried about doing jail time in the movie. But O'Neal's hero walks away unscathed, with his retirement money intact. And just like in the previous video, I mentioned how the NAACP had it out for him. And they was not Tonto the Lone Ranger. They had help from Cicely Tyson. So in about several interviews at the time, O'Neal argued strenuously that Curtis Mayfield's soundtrack provided the real theme behind the film, weaving a strong anti-drug message into the narrative that did not glamorize the drug trade, but instead portrayed the desperation and ambiguity of those drawn into it, both as purveyors and consumers. Even the title is an ironic one, he explained to the New York Times. But he was also angry that the NAACP had the nerve to be picketing signs in protest of certain theaters in Los Angeles that were showing his movies. They were demanding that the studio recall Superfly and reshoot it with a new morally resounding ending. He was like, "Can you believe that?" Ron also says, "Here's a picture where a black man financially manages to beat the system, and they'd rather see him dead." In response to the storm over Superfly, Ron O'Neal agreed to appear in a sequel, which marked his directorial debut, Superfly TNT, which was released just a year later. It bombed. And of course, not in a good way. Just read the synopsis of the movie, and it reads boring. Superfly this time was in Europe on some illegal arms mess. And after all the controversy surrounding his movie, he had a hard time finding any kind of solid roles after Superfly. And let's not leave Cicely Tyson out of this, because according to him, she helped put the last nail in his acting coffin. He believes she particularly targeted Superfly, one of, if not the most controversial of all blaxploitation films, in part because it was among the most financially successful. Cicely Tyson accused the movie of being a bad influence on young blacks, as it romanticized drug dealing and drug taking, as if that was the one and only film showing it. After trashing his movie for hers, which was called Sounder, she became the voice of anti-blaxploitation. This made Ron forever resent her for that, thinking that her attack on his film was largely self-serving, a way to get attention from his movie to hers. And you know what? I believe him, because when you into that movie business, it's a cutthroat industry, just like the music industry. It's very cutthroat, and it's a dog eat dog. And at the time, Superfly was highly controversial, and there was a lot of people that was against the movie. And so if you was against it, you got a lot of attention. And I often wish that Ron O'Neal's career could have thrived. I wish it could have really thrived. There's no telling just how far he could have went in acting. Rest in peace, Mr. O'Neal. Gone, but definitely not forgotten. And I was priceless, Raw. Thank you again for watching. Be sure to check out more of my videos coming soon. And if you would like for me to make one of your choosing, please drop it in the comment section. And I just might make it. Later, everybody.